Hi, welcome back to Movie Review Mom. Thanks for spending a few minutes while we talk about movies. Okay, I'm the one doing all the talking, but still, be sure and like the video below, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out our Facebook group where we chat about movies. Anyway, today the movie I'm reviewing is called Emma. The movie is rated PG. It's 2 hours and 4 minutes. And the movie review mom grade I'm giving it is an A minus. It's a beautiful film. But first, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I'm going to give you an overview and then point out some tips for parents, some things I liked and didn't like, and even include some themes that are worth talking about with your friends and family. Okay, so first, in a quick nutshell, fans of period pieces by Jane Austen and even Downton Abbey will definitely enjoy this extremely stylish remake that takes place in the 1800s in England. It's directed by Autumn de Wilde, and it is a sumptuous, like that word, a sumptuous adaptation that is absolutely beautiful to look at. We're told on the screen after the opening credits that Emma Woodhouse, handsome, clever, and rich, had nearly 21 years in the world with very little to distress or vex her. And so begins the crummagraculen curriculum. I was trying to find old English words to get you in the mood. Okay, so some tips for parents are, first of all, towards the very beginning of the movie, you see a man completely naked from the back. The movie is rated PG, so I don't know why the director decided to throw that little nugget in there. It doesn't add to the scene, really, possibly to give you an insight into the character, but even still, we don't need to see that. And then a few minutes later, you see a female actress, and she lifts up the back of her dress to warm herself, her rear end on the fire. So you see a lot of her leg and kind of a little bit of her backside. And again, for a PG movie, I was just kind of surprised to see that. There are some dresses that show some cleavage, and other than that, the old English style is mostly, ruffles up to the neck. There's a surprising lack of kissing, actually, only twice. And most kids will be extremely bored unless they're used to the Jane Austen, Downton Abbey type of story and type of storytelling as well. Now, some interesting themes worth talking about are rich versus poor as they display the social classes and the etiquette associated with each of the levels. Change is definitely a theme, respect, forgiveness, and even kindness. Now, Emma makes a statement, and Emma is played by Anya Taylor-Joy. She says, "You must be the best judge of your own happiness," which is ironic coming from her because she loves to meddle in other people's business and be a matchmaker, which is what a large part of the movie is about. Now, some things that I really liked about the movie are, first of all, Anya Taylor-Joy. She is a very lovely Emma. And did you know that she actually grew up in Argentina for the first 6 or 7 years of her life and then moved to England and then kind of did a little back and forth from what I understand. Anyway, the first time I ever saw her was in an M. Night Shyamalan movie, the fantastic thriller Split. And I thought she was really good. She's a brunette in that movie and then the subsequent movie as well. But she's beautiful as a blonde too. And sometimes it doesn't always work, but for her it does. I mean, she's just really lovely. However, during the majority of the movie, I did not like Emma at all because she seemed so manipulative, snobby, selfish, critical of everyone, and a control freak. That was really the point, though. Years ago, Jane Austen actually wrote about the book, Emma. She said, "I'm going to take a heroine whom no one but myself will much like." Mission accomplished. However, there's a part in the movie, there's a scene where you see Emma grow up in an instant and realize that the things that come out of her mouth and her actions affect other people, and that she is not happy about that person that she has become or that person that is portrayed. And it's kind of an epiphany for her as well as for the audience. And at that moment, that's when I started rooting for her. So I thought it was really done, or well done in that regard. I also adore Bill Nye in every movie I've ever seen him in. He's especially entertaining in this movie. Although I think my favorite movie with him is probably a lovely movie called About Time. You should definitely see that one. Josh O'Connor was also the perfect Mr. Elton. He's so funny, and I've heard that the cast just had a hard time keeping a straight face during his scenes, especially when he's preaching in the church. And they're very comical, and he's just got this ridiculously contagious smile. I thought he was delightful. You get to see beautiful British homes, British landscape, gorgeous costume design with absolutely stunning details by award-winning Alexandra Byrne. It's early in the movie year. I mean, it's only February, but there should definitely be an Oscar nomination for her costume design. Just breathtaking, really. Several years ago, I stumbled across Miranda Hart's British TV comedy called Miranda, and I just thought she was so adorable, and I just got the biggest kick out of that show. And so I'm always pleased when I see her in feature films. I hope that she's in many more because she's just so funny, and she was perfect as Miss Bates. And by the way, my maiden name was Bates too. So the scenes that showed these girls walking by in their red coats was just picture perfect. What a vignette of color. And there are many moments like that where they're snapshot perfect. The music also supported that old English atmosphere of the film with some interesting variety, in fact. Now, I've actually read some reviews of people that didn't like the music, but I really did because it showed kind of the staunchness of England at the time, as well as some of the playfulness that's in the movie. There's this one scene where these girls put a button on the top of this pile of flour, and then they take turns cutting it away, and then the person who makes the button drop has to put their whole face into the flour, and get it with their teeth. Anyway, I actually played that at a birthday party years ago when I was a little girl, and I don't see that very often. So I got a kick out of that because that was the origin of that game, was in old England. Now, the settings and the interiors and exteriors are just outstanding. They really could not have been any better. Johnny Flynn actually wrote the song that played during the end credits, and all of the actors who sing and play instruments in the movie actually really do. Now, some things that I didn't particularly like, but nothing huge other than the first one, which was, again, why the nudity? The movie's PG, so come on. And then act one was super sluggish, and I almost gave up on it. It just almost lost me. And I kept thinking, no, I need to watch the whole movie so I can share this movie review with you. And I'm really glad that I stuck to it, because once you get past act one, then things start to become more interesting and more clear. Part of what happened in act one is things were just kind of muddy. And if you've never watched a Jane Austen movie or Downton Abbey or something like that, you'll be going, wait, what's happening? What's going on? Who's what? And what, and trying to figure out the whole thing. So stick with it, and I think you'll enjoy it. There will be, however, a lot of people, dare I say, men, who would rather shoot themselves than actually sit through this movie. Women, girls will love it generally. And some men will, of course, but most men will just not tolerate the silliness. And in fact, there's a line in the movie by Mr. George Knightley, and played by Johnny Flynn, and he says, "Men of sense do not want silly wives." And so much of these women are very silly, as you'll see in the movie. It was really annoying when speaking of Mr. Knightley, and Emma argue because they do it shouting over on top of each other rather than a playful back and forth banter, or even if they are genuinely angry, but how most of the time it's a kind of a playful banter. It would have just been so much more enjoyable and easier to understand than when they're all, talking all at the same time. Unfortunately, I didn't really feel a lot of chemistry between the two characters, the actors in real life. So that was disappointing. I would have much rather pictured her with one of the other guys, actually. And his shaggy hair made him look like he really should have been more of a farmer. In fact, one of the farmers in the movie, rather than the slick, genteel gentleman that he was supposed to be. Some of the dialogue hangs so heavy that the humor actually gets a little lost. And for some Americans, the thick accent is often a little bit difficult to understand. Sorry, Brits. I'm British, actually. My ancestors are from England. So it's just, we're not used to hearing some of those types of accents. And in fact, because so many of the actors came from different regions in the UK and other places, they actually had an accent coach to keep everybody kind of spot on. And they actually studied and practiced so that their accent could be legit. There's this other random scene where there's a nosebleed, and I read the book a million years ago, so maybe that's in the book. I don't remember, but in this particular scene, it just seemed kind of random and didn't really add to the scene. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I had a micro nap or something and I missed it, but I just thought that was odd. There's also a scene where Mia Goth's character recovers from an attack by gypsies when she lays on the couch or lies on the couch. Correct grammar there since we're speaking Old English. And she makes these sounds that are kind of interesting, funny, and a little bit confusing at the same time. And I wasn't sure if what I heard was what the director intended. And if she did, that shouldn't be in a PG movie either. Anyway, you'll see when you get to that part of the movie. Okay, that's my review in a quick nutshell. If you enjoy this movie, you can still catch Little Women in some theaters across the country. Different country, obviously, but kind of a similar time frame and interesting dynamics in that family. Anyway, again, thank you for visiting me. Be sure and check out Movie Review Mom, where I have more information on each of the movies, including some of the funny lines, interesting lines, contests, and all of that kind of stuff. Thank you again so much. Have an awesome time at the movies. Bye for now.